When does narrative provide purpose? Why is directing mostly about curating atmosphere? Is creative magic just hard work in disguise? This cosmic transmission comes from Robert Bass, a film former from Dublin, Ireland. Rob has won numerous awards for his work, including an ICAD Greenhorn Award for craft and an EDA for Best Commercial. He has worked with a myriad of artists, including MOIO, Kojaque, Coulibaly, and Kean Kavanagh. Here, he discusses his creative life from beginning to present.
I started out I was just constantly drawing. I used to draw so much when I was younger, like drawing and painting, but like mainly drawing. So I played a lot of sport and stuff, but like I was always, any free time at home or in class, I was just drawing. And like that was my thing. Like I was always just the guy in the corner drawing. So that was like definitely the start of visual art for me. And it was kind of found my taste and style through that, because I kind of, not too young, like obviously I was just drawing when I was young, but then when I was a little bit older, like even like 8, 9, 10, I kind of like learned about like Renaissance art and then like graffiti at the same time. So they kind of like, I feel like that's developed a lot of my kind of taste, like Renaissance art in terms of like realism and like detail and like attention to detail, and then graffiti in terms of just like brashness, color, flair, style. I feel like that's kind of informed like what I do a lot of the time. Like my room's just like covered in art, so like it was definitely like visual art first. Yeah.
The Renaissance influence makes a lot of sense. I mean, just from watching some of your work and noticing how certain things are lit, or the choice of colors, the way shadows are left to be very dark in some areas is very Rembrandt in its style.
Yeah, based on like Caravaggio, Rembrandt, that would be huge like influence on my taste and stuff for sure. And getting closer to that would be a goal going forward. Obviously it's difficult to do that, like that requires budget and stuff, but that's definitely always been something that I get drawn to, I think.
Amazing. And so when did that evolve into the nature of film, or did it begin with photography first, or?
It was editing first. So I kind of like learned how to edit off YouTube, and I used to like download clips of like Messi or like whatever it was at the time, whatever my like interest was. It was a lot of the time it was like football related, and I would just like make videos and like learn off YouTube tutorials. So it was always editing first, and then I started making like little short films with my cousins or my sisters or whoever I could like drag into stuff. But it was definitely editing led.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's way more rare to like begin there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people seem to do photography, but I didn't really start taking photos until like the last couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it was never really that big a thing to me. Even in college, I wasn't that big into it. Like a lot of people would go around with film cameras and stuff, but I was never like mad on that. I'm not super technical or into gear per se. There's definitely people who are way stronger than me for that, but like I was just interested in the visuals of it, I guess. But yeah, it was editing led, which I think is still like a huge thing for me. Like I edit or co-edit everything I do. I can't remember the last time I didn't edit something that I shot.
I think that definitely feeds into your style as well, just in terms of, again, when I watch something of yours, it does feel reverse engineered from the point of view of the edit a lot of the time. Very calculated, very precise.
Yeah, I think right through from like after movies for events to like music videos, thinking of the edit from the very start is huge for me. And whether that's thinking about specific, like I'm going to do this at this point, or it's like I'm going to shoot it this way to give myself options in the edit.
Right.
You know, now whether it's prescriptive or not, it's still with the edit in mind, I would say.
And what's your approach to that sort of process? Would you storyboard so you know what that edit's going to look like, or how does that work for you?
Very rarely storyboard. I think I'm quite like visual anyway, so a lot of the time I usually just do shot lists and I can just kind of picture, because most of the time I don't have to explain it to many people because I'm going to be a lot of the time shooting. But even if I'm not shooting, I'm working with someone that we both understand each other's language, and then I'm also going to be editing it. So I don't usually do too much storyboarding.
And how often would you find that the final product mirrors that initial plan?
A lot of the time it doesn't, as you'd probably know, but I feel like each time I do it, it gets a bit closer, which is kind of what it's all about. Like, you know, you get one step further each time you do it, and then it like progressively gets still further away because you're always trying to do something a bit harder. So it doesn't always work out.
Right, but that is definitely the sort of like addictive part of creativity, where it's like, you know, this constant chasing.
Yeah.
So how did the medium of music videos begin for you?
Music videos are the first thing that I probably did like with any relative success. Like I did like a couple of short films when I was younger and to like build a portfolio to get into college. But then almost like I did, and my first music video I think I did when I was like 16 for a band in my school. And then I didn't do another one until I got into college, and I met this guy who was in my year, Owen Byrne, who I still direct loads of stuff with. He was also in a band, so we started doing all the videos for him, and then that kind of opened the door for meeting other artists and stuff. So that's kind of how I got into music videos. It wasn't necessarily like a thought out plan that I chased. It just kind of like happened naturally.
Did you watch a lot of music videos, or did that deep dive sort of come after you started making them?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely started making them before I was interested in them that much. Like there's videos that I liked from artists that like my favorite artists and stuff, but it wasn't necessarily a thing that I was super passionate about. I was definitely more interested in like narrative led and features and stuff like that. Even like there's a couple of people that I know that they could name every commercial and like recite it and be like really big fans and stuff like that, and I'm not necessarily like that either. So I definitely come from making something and then get interested in it that way before being interested in wanting to make it then after.
Yeah, definitely lends a more unique perspective as well, because you're not tainted with a lot of like things you've seen and are trying to emanate. Like it's really coming from
and I think, to be fair, a lot of our early stuff is probably like very much like kind of wearing our references very boldly and just like obviously. But I think that's kind of how you develop a style. You have to try kind of figure stuff out and see how people did that and then try to do it yourself. But I think that was important to do at the start. Yeah.
Do you think, as it stands now, are narrative driven projects something you still prioritize and gravitate toward, or does it depend on the project, even in the sense of music videos?
I'm not necessarily always looking for a narrative thing, but I do find that when I do something narrative led, like the Kean Kavanagh videos, they're way more rewarding and I just feel better after them. And I think that's definitely, every time I do it, I feel happier doing them. So each time I don't do it, I kind of like redirect myself back towards it. And I think kind of going forward, doing more narrative led stuff, even just getting away from music videos, getting into short films and stuff would be definitely the way I'd want to go.
And like, just a question on process, you know, for music videos that you're trying to instill a narrative into, which I think is, you know, usually this deceptively hard thing to do really well. I mean, it is with short films, obviously, but with music videos, it's maybe even harder when you can't use dialogue and you have this brief, which is the song or the artist themselves. And I feel like the Kean Kavanagh video for A Cowboy Song is a perfect example of like how to execute this well. But how do you approach that challenge?
I think it can be really difficult to do it well, but I think also it gives a music video purpose. So if you're just setting out to make something that's just stylized and looks cool, I think that's doable, but it just has less like substance to it, so it doesn't necessarily connect with people further than like Instagram. This looks cool, but I don't necessarily want to dive into this world. It's a bit like surface level. So I think it can help when you do it. It can just make everything feel stronger and better. Like with the Kean Kavanagh one, Kean had this obsession with like Elvis impersonators in like local Irish towns, and that's kind of what the jumping off point was. And then myself, him and Kev kind of all met up and worked on that, and that was the jumping off point. And it was just such a strong idea that it was hard to make happen on like tight budget and stuff, but it was also hard to make a mess of because it was just such a strong idea. And I think once we got Peter McGann involved, it was like impossible to fail because it was just so ridiculously good. So I do think it's it's a harder path to take than just doing like a stylistically cool video, but then it's like much more rewarding, I think.
Yeah, that's well put. Because I think it's, you know, what you slowly learn when you're dealing with narrative pieces, which is you want to begin with the images that are in your head, and it's, you know, good to have those and document them. But really the probable best place to begin is with character.
Yeah.
And not all the time, but I feel like when the character is the core idea and it's somebody that audiences can give a shit about, and it's somebody that other ideas sort of just emanate from naturally,
Yeah.
you know, then now you have these images and shots that are laden with, like you say, purpose and meaning and stuff.
Yeah, and I think it just grows legs. Like it became this character, and then that became a trilogy of videos across, and it became Kean's like whole rollout.
Yeah.
And it just like it became a world to dive into, and County Star became like a thing just off this funny idea that he had. So like I think it lends itself to just like, I think a lot of my favorite artists they're world builders, and like world building so exciting and so cool. And that's kind of the first time I think we've kind of cracked that across a project instead of just like a single one-off video.
Yeah, I think the more experience you get, the more you realize how important it is not just to have, you know, one strong central idea, but also to have faith that that one idea is enough to carry the project.
Yeah.
And to put more energy and focus into expanding on that one thing, as opposed to like, you know, because if you start thinking like, oh, well, that's just the great idea for this scene, and now we're going to need a million more just like it, or whatever, you kind of just get screwed. You get nuts or something.
Yeah. And we've done that before. Like myself and Owen have probably done videos where it just becomes convoluted, or there's too many ideas. And I think that's like just about like maturing and like getting better, is to learn to focus in on what is working and just make that really good instead of trying to do 100 different things. And so I think, yeah, that's a massive kind of learning curve.
Right, for sure. And so for a cowboy song, how did that work? Did you guys have a script that sort of documented the core idea and you sort of went from there, or?
For Cowboy Song, myself and Kev worked on treatments. Kev did a lot of the writing on it, but it was much more, it was a treatment, very much a treatment, less so a script. And it was kind of like story beats and situations. And it was kind of the way we approached it was creating a situation for Peter and then just letting him kind of explore that, and just being we really changed, I think, our visual approach on our own visual style, especially for Kev from his previous videos, because his stuff is like immaculately shot listed and like transitions plan and everything. And this was very much like fly on the wall documentary almost, and just letting Peter just express himself, because he had the character just so nailed down. So it was definitely about like creating a situation like, okay, Peter, you're on the bus and you're trying to motivate the guys for the game. Go for that. And then, okay, maybe let's try, you're upset about something, blah, blah. And like just creating situations, and less so about like, do this.
You trust in your actor in a way as well. Like that's really important to be like, you know, I think that's a mature approach to something like that.
Yeah.
To true collaboration.
And it was new though, to me personally. Like I've obviously worked with amazing musicians on camera who have like amazing talent, but working with an actor of that caliber really was eye-opening on like, okay, there's a whole other level to this and like what you can do. And yeah, that was pretty special. Even the first day, because we shot that over 3 days, the 3 different videos. The first day we were with him, it was just like, okay, this is gonna work because this guy is ridiculous.
Yeah. What do you think you picked up on in terms of like things that you've noticed, like, oh, this might be a way to like guide performance in a certain direction without like being prescriptive or whatever?
Yeah. I think especially because this was a co-directing thing again with Kev, a lot of it was in the prep of talking with Kev and Kean, and like, who is this guy? How do we want him to come across, and how do we want people to kind of feel about him? So that we were going into it super clear, so that Peter wasn't getting 2 different things in his ear all the time.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of went into it and we were very well like prepped, and we knew exactly what we wanted things to feel like in each scene. So when it came to on the day direction and stuff, I think myself and Kev were able to let one or the other go and talk to Peter, which I think was really important, and just in clarity. And I think Kev, like, we kind of developed into myself handling a lot of like the visual side and like how we're going to capture this, and then Kev handling a lot of Peter and the character, and then also just having calls with Peter before, so he's going in already with an idea. We didn't get to do like rehearsals and stuff, but I think he was just so in touch and in tune with the character that we were chasing that it kind of just worked. So I think a lot of it's prep. Yeah.
Do you think that's a work process that you'd want to take into doing narrative shorts and narrative features?
I think so, yeah. I think there's no reason to stunt an actor if they're that good. If they're going to come up with stuff that's better than you, there's no reason to just like get in their way. Let them try stuff, kind of open the room for play. And then I think I was actually with this producer, Kean, the other day, and he kind of was speaking about directing, and he was saying directing is about atmosphere. It's about creating atmosphere. So, you know, you can have production designers, you can have everything, but if you don't have an atmosphere and you don't have like a tone and a vision in mind, it's all kind of just a bit flat. So I think once you have that atmosphere clear in your mind and what you want people to feel and what you're trying to create, opening it up then to let everyone do what they do is only going to just make it better.
Yeah, you're sort of curating the energy and vibe of the thing and making sure that it does stay on brand, essentially, like for that tone of voice and for even if it's your own creative voice.
Yeah,
you know, you have to be the person that's like, which is why, you know, that's the director is like an answering machine, just in terms of that is like the whole process of this is on tone, this isn't, or whatever.
And I think that's what a lot of like the last like 5+ years or whatever of like directing stuff has been, because everybody that goes in, I went to film school and like everyone that goes in is like, I want to be a director, but on day one you've watched behind the scenes and stuff, or you've whatever it is, but nobody really knows what it is to be a director. You're kind of on set and you're just making it up, and I think that's something you kind of discover 100 shoots in.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I've been learning, is that it's about like you're like the lead like tastemaker on set, and it's what you like and what you not like, and kind of narrowing in on what works. And you know, there's infinite ideas, and then when you land on an idea, there's like a million ways that you could take that idea. So it's about kind of zoning in on what you need and what works for a certain project or a certain video, and then being able to help kind of like guide everyone with you to that. And it's very much, it's a lot of like, that sounds super wishy-washy, but like I think that is kind of what it's about.
Definitely, yeah. Because it's being an artist, you know, it's which is a very elusive thing to try and describe in general terms. And I think, you know, with directors often, especially because there's this system around them and like a whole company of people, it's easy to forget that, you know, for the most part, it's still an artistic process, like of just trying to express taste and voice. Would voice be something that you consciously think about?
Yeah, I think voice is something that I've been asked that a couple of times, like what's your like style or what's your like voice or whatever. And I think I'm just not there yet. I don't think I've found it. I think I'm kind of in the midst of trying to make as much stuff as possible to see what I like and what I don't like, and kind of get closer to what that might be. I think, rightly or wrongly, I really like approaching videos completely openly, especially in terms of music videos. Like I like the idea of being adaptable, and that to me, I think it's wrong if I do a MOIO video and then I do a courtesy video and they feel the same just because I'm directing them. I think they should feel like MOIO or like courtesy, and I should be able to apply myself to them instead of the other way around, which might be the wrong approach. I think also sometimes, you know, I look at some directors, some artists, and like everyone has like such established styles, but I don't think I'm there yet, because I think I've done some stuff that I feel like, okay, this feels really good and I'm liking this, but then there's multiple things that I've done like that, so there's nothing that I found yet that I really want to hone in on.
I don't think it's wrong. I think it's just different. Like you can get that across the board with like even music producers, and it's like you know, like a Pharrell song will always start with that beat,
Yeah.
that tag, or you'll know it from the vibe of it. But then another, like a Rick Rubin or something like that, is just getting the best out of the artist.
Yeah.
And both have their own benefits, you know. And I think it's the same with filmmakers.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a nice justification of what I'm thinking. I think that, but I definitely would then be leaning into that kind of like chameleon approach, especially for now. I think, especially when it comes to music videos, because like at the end of the day, it's the artist and then your secondary artist, and you're serving that song. So I think it might change when it comes to narrative and shorts, and when I start kind of finding stories that I want to tell a bit more.
Yeah, it's just like following your interests, and I think, you know, leaning into your innate strengths, like for example, working with Peter McGann and discovering the enjoyment of working with an actor that way and getting the best out of them, which is, you know, it's such an abstract skill, you know, in comparison to maybe dealing with tech or gear.
And I think that's something I would have been, and still probably am, a bit scared of, like actors and working with actors, because it's probably what I've done least. And like knowing what way I want something to be lit, or like the way the camera moves, I feel like way more confident and strong in. But when it comes to working with an actor or something, that's just something, it just naturally has happened that I haven't done that much. So when I did get to work with Peter specifically, it was so exciting, because it was like, oh, it's not actually as scary as you think it is. Once you kind of let go of control and you let someone else do their thing, because that's what it's, I think that's kind of the like hidden secret is, there is no secret. It's just like working with good people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's like an obsession to be like, God, I hope there's a secret to this, because it just means, you know, so much less work and anxiety for me.
Yeah.
But that's just never the case, you know, no matter what it is.
I think even growing up, like I used to be like, I definitely have like obsessive tendencies, and I'd get like fixated on different things or different films or like filmmakers, and be watching like all the behind the scenes. And like, I think you definitely grow up with an air of like there's magic happening.
Yeah.
But I think the more you do it, you kind of learn there isn't. It's just about like hard work, lots of prep, long hours. And if there is any magic to it, it's in like collaboration, working with other people. And like once you start work, like me and Owen did a lot of videos together in college. And first of all, that was like a beautiful thing, working with someone a lot. But I think once we opened it up and we started working with a DOP or different artists or whatever it was, it suddenly got tenfold better. And each time we kind of add people, whether it's with Owen or with Kev or just by myself, each time you work with other people, it just feels so much better.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of progressing into narrative shorts and features, where would your fascination lie at the moment? Like in terms of genre or vibe?
I think I have a few like ideas and scripts and stuff, and I think a lot of it leans towards, it's like if you are going genre, it's like it is drama, realism, like some smaller stories that you can actually relate to, not trying to go like, not trying to do like Michael Bay sort of stuff, like trying to make stuff that people can actually connect to and that are feasible to make.
Who would be your like favorite like people that you would have watched, filmmakers?
Well, like when I was younger, like filmmakers that I'd like watch every single behind the scenes of is like obviously Spielberg, Scorsese, the Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings. I don't think I ever watched those movies, but I've watched the behind the scenes so much, so I know exactly what happened, but I don't think I've actually ever watched the movie, which is pretty funny. But
I do the exact same thing.
Yeah, the behind the scenes on them are incredible.
Yeah,
those guys, Fincher, and then like there's so many. I think then even like recently it's kind of come around to more like, okay, who are people near my level? Like, you know, international filmmakers like Jonas Lindstrom or like Gabriel Moses and Aidan Zamory and stuff, but then also just people closer to home. Like, I think Ireland has just like a ridiculous amount of talent, and like filmmaking and musical talent right now is like insane. I think it's going to be looked back upon in like 30, 40 years and like, whoa, there was so many people coming out. And I think like I think the music video scene is kind of a training ground for a lot of that. So like people like Hugh Mulhern or Dave Fox or Ailish O'Doherty, even like the Bradley brothers, like Connor and Rory, Owen, obviously, Kojaque, like there's Sam McGrath, there's so many people just doing like insane stuff. So I think that's been like much more of a fascination for me recently, or even in the last like 3 or 4 years, while I'll try to figure out like what I'm trying to do in the near future. Because obviously it's cool to think of like Scorsese's and Fincher's and stuff, but like, okay, they're a world away. How do I get to that? And I think people like that are super exciting. And especially I think the Irish ones just being like silly Irish pride, but just like looking at like a Hugh Moore or someone just being like, that is insane what he's doing. Or Dave Fox. I think Dave's like the best director in Ireland. I love Dave.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? Like, what is it about this? Is it just timing? Like that this period has happened to be like...
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's timing, but I think also probably every generation before has probably been like worse say. And I think there's just like always cool art coming out of Ireland.
Yeah.
Generally, there always has been. But yeah, I think timing, I think like obviously access to more tools of being able to like make music in your bedroom or make a film with your friends or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's just more access as well, so more people can tell stories and do stuff. And I think that's probably helping as well.
It's also the way to share it as well. Like there's access there for people to absorb that stuff. Like it's so constant that you can have access to all these people's names and their like catalog of work to really go through whenever you want.
There's just like constantly new people coming, like younger people making crazy stuff. Like I don't know if you've seen like Spider's Web, like Alex, like his photography and video stuff, Jack McBride, Kean Bulger's like same age as us and stuff, but like there's just so many people just doing insane stuff. Shane,
great.
There's so much.
Yeah, definitely. And it's sort of like, you could feel a lot of pressure when you look at it like that as well. But, coming at it from the point of view of collaboration, like you said, it only benefits everybody else when, people come together and share their knowledge about specific things.
Big time. I think it's like equally inspiring and exciting to be able to like, these people are opening doors or like creating lanes. But then also I remember one of the only things I remember from college was like on the first day, they're like, no matter what, you can't be competitive with each other. And I just remember like rejecting that so much, just not liking that, because obviously, I don't know, just from like a competitive background, or like he used to play a lot of sport and stuff. And I think the competitive part of it's like huge. Like I see someone go make a crazy video, I'm like, damn, I wish I made that video. And then I try to do something better, or I think that's a big part of it as well. And I think a lot of people would probably disagree with me on that, but
even like being competitive with yourself, like that energy is so important. Yeah, like of making something and being like, that wasn't it.
Yeah,
I can do better. Like than that person who made this thing. Like I need to prove that I can. Like that's so important. Even if so I do think that energy is like, to cut that out is kind of like, you can't really. I feel like that's sort of like, that is so ingrained in the art mindset, like creating something. Like
and as long as it's like productive and not destructive, like you're not beating yourself up because you didn't make something, or you're not tearing someone down because they did make something, and you're funneling that into actually like creating stuff, then I think it's positive.
Yeah. And just in terms of writing, is that something you would do a lot, or is it something you rarely do?
I did a bit more in college, and I feel like since I've left, I've been kind of flat out doing like music related stuff, and I've definitely been writing way less. But I do want to do more narrative stuff, and then when I do narrative stuff, I definitely want to be writing or involved in the writing as much as possible. But it's something that I would love to be doing more, and definitely like a weak point that I've probably like underdeveloped, I'd say, in the last few years.
Yeah. And as someone who began in a very visual place, like with editing and you were saying drawing earlier, is writing something that you found actually is part of you?
Yeah, I think in terms of like the mechanical, technical side of just like sitting down and like enjoying writing, I definitely have that. I think I really enjoy, like even in school, like my best subjects were like history and English, or like things where I just like write forever. I'm like, that's something that I'd lean towards and be strong at. But I think then in terms of like the practicality, in terms of like creatively writing and sitting down, it's something that I just haven't been doing that much. But I think it's just like an underdeveloped muscle for me right now, and something that I need to kind of work on going forward.
Yeah.
But like I do think I have it in me. I just need to keep working on it.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. So you're an editor, you shoot some of your own stuff, you direct, and we've just talked about writing. Do you think it's important for you to have sort of a hand in every stage of the process, at least a little bit?
Yeah, I think as much as like I've done a lot of stuff myself or with like maybe like 2 or 3 people, and I think that's just been like by necessity, and we're working towards working with more people each project if we can. Like that's the goal, is to have a bigger team, but also on that, like the more I work with people, I still want to be like heavily involved. Like when I work with a DP, I'm still kind of talking about what lenses we're using and what way I want to shoot something, or like whatever it is, whoever it is, like definitely maintain like a strong opinion on a lot of stuff if I can. But I think that's just like kind of part of the directing. But yeah, definitely, yeah, I think that's just kind of how it's organically worked out, that I kind of had to do a lot of stuff myself, but not necessarily where I want to be at going forward. Like it'll probably take a while for me to start working with an editor, because I'm a bit married to that, but that would be a good place to get to, I think.
Yeah. But either way, having that knowledge, across the board always facilitates conversation. And that's really the key to getting everyone on the same page. It's vital when you're leading a team towards a certain vision.
Yeah.
But so for the meantime, music videos would be still the main focus.
Yeah, for the time being, for the next like 3, 4, 5 years, it's just to keep making stuff. But yeah, I think long term it would be to kind of push towards narrative and longer form narrative. But equally, there's so much merit in music videos, and like they're so special, and getting to work with artists is so kind of cool. So I don't want to like run away from that either.
Yeah, amazing. And so you're saying you're going on tour. What's the work process there? Like, do you just kind of go with and capture as much as you can and then come away? I suppose it's different.
Yeah, I've actually never been on tour before, so it's gonna be my first time. So I'm gonna figure it out as I go. But I think we're just gonna shoot as much as possible. I've kind of been shooting just loads with MOIO over the last nearly year, and we've put out probably like 5% of what we've shot, and I've just kind of been banking stuff with kind of maybe like a documentary or something in mind. And so I think it'll be a similar case of just shooting, and then whatever he needs content wise in the short term, like if it's after movies of the whole thing or like a specific like clip from the shows, we'll do that. But I think we've kind of been shooting twofold in the last year. One eye on a documentary in the long term and kind of capturing as much as possible, and then the short term of like content and what's needed for his socials and stuff, which is great to me, less exciting, but I think just equally as important, because he needs that to continue to grow so that he's in a place to make a documentary about even.
Yeah. Also, like even just doing those many things, you're still working together. So
yeah,
like even if it does come to a part of like, oh, more things are needed for this documentary, all those mini workout sessions like of like how we work together and stuff like that.
Well, and it's just like Moyle's my guy. Like we're both in Cavanagh Club, and that's just one of my best friends. So it's just like if he needs something, we're gonna do it. Whether it's like super, creatively demanding or not, like it's just like we're building something together. So.
And so talk a little bit about the Cavanagh Club. Like how long has that been going on for? How did it start?
So Cavanagh Club has been going for maybe 6 years, 5 years. It was started by Manjola, Abby Coulibaly and MOIO. And then Thomas Kettle joined pretty soon after, who's an amazing like visual artist who does a lot of the creative direction. And then I kind of joined a few years ago, and now there's like maybe like 6 or 7 of us. And it's just like a home for like creative people. There's photography, there's filmmaking, there's music, there's events, there's like clothes design, there's comics, there's just like so much stuff. We do a lot of like kind of in-person events and kind of a big strand of it's like building community and culture and like harboring culture in Ireland and a place for like Ireland's like creative talent to sit, and whether it's people in Camwell or it's like events we put on, people we invite, and there's so much kind of talent to shine the spotlight on, and I think that's kind of what Camwell is, and it's just been growing and expanding in the last couple of years, but especially in the last year, kind of doing stuff in New York and London and Paris, and just like continually growing. Yeah,
Such a good example of what we were talking about earlier in terms of that sort of competitive but also like collaborative fuel that rises everybody together. Which is great. And so the MOIO working relationship, just to expand on that a little bit, how has that been? Is that sort of where he leaves you to your specialties, you leave him to sort of like his side of things, or how does that work?
the MOIO relationship has been extremely natural and organic. Like his first ever song was a track called Sunbeaming, and we did visuals for that, and I think Louis shot some of the photos and stuff around it for promo, but and we've just done stuff for every single song since, and it's just like just mates that make stuff together, and he kind of like will come, he'll need something, we both throw ideas in, and then we just make it, and then like a lot of the time it's, especially when it comes to the edit, he'll be pretty happy to let me kind of do my thing, especially like on the album trailer that we did recently was very kind of like we spoke about before, got a sense of what he wanted, he got a sense of what was in my head, and we kind of spoke about it, and then just kind of went off and did it, and he was happy with it. The music video we did for Play Hard was a bit more involved, just being a full music video. Of course, there's a lot more to kind of think about and talk about, especially I think when it came to the edit, we really locked in together for a few days. But yeah, it's just like a very chill, casual, fun relationship where we just kind of make stuff together.
Yeah,
cool.
It's really special to have that kind of flexibility in that kind of relationship where you can go from sort of a quote unquote professional setting, like a music video, all the way down to like the very chill, like mates working together.
Yeah, I think, and that's why it's particularly special with just MOIO and any of the Camel guys. It's the same with Abby and MJ. It's like we can go from a big music video, like relatively decent budget, to, oh, Rob, can you shoot this video on a phone? And it's like, yeah, we can do all of that and anything in between. I think that's kind of, that's uniquely what Camel is. It's just helping each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have this kind of consistent relationship with a lot of people you work with, which is, you know, whether it be from your friend Owen, like you were saying earlier, through the other examples we've talked about, you know, there's a clear generation of friendship between the people you're working with, or like a closeness in that kind of sense.
I think that's a massive thing to me, is like being friendly or even just friends with the people that I'm working with. Like, I think even when me and Owen were just getting into music videos and we were doing a lot together, there'd be specific artists like Audible Chocolate, the band, or something that we'd really want to work with. So we'd go to their gig and we'd just have a chat with them and have a pint with them, and it, like, try to develop a relationship with the people instead of just being like cold texting them or them coming to us and asking us for a video and us not really knowing them. Like, I think a lot of the time when somebody is approached out of the blue, like, more time it's not developed into anything unless it kind of you then meet and it's a bit more organic and develops into a relationship. I think that's much stronger. I think you just will go further for someone that you know, and you just believe in more. Like, it's the same with Courtesy. Me and Owen were just like massive fans, just loved his music. So, and we ended up getting to know him a bit, and then I think we were talking about doing a video with him for like 2 years, and then we eventually did it, and it was like, it came about after just knowing each other, which is really nice. And I think that does make a big difference, and it's the same for then people behind the camera and collaborators. And there's even, I worked in a company for a couple of years, and that was very much the kind of ethos in there. Is like, it was a family run business, and it felt like a student set, like operating at a really high level, and the guys in there are amazing, but like, it was like anyone will help anyone do anything, and it's all hands on deck. And I think that's something I learned a lot. Just like in college, I think I said yes to like every opportunity. Like anytime there was a film or a grad film, I would just be on it. I think I barely saw people in my year when I was in first year. I was just always with the fourth years or third years working on their films, just trying to learn stuff. And I think that's where I developed a lot of like, how do I want like my sets to feel going forward? And for a few years, my sets were like me, Owen, and like one other person, maybe Owen's brother or a friend or something. But like, I think the ethos is maintained over the years, and even now when there's like 10, 15 people on set, you try to create like an atmosphere of like anyone will do anything, you know, help put a light up, take a light down, kind of sweep, hoover, whatever it is, just like anyone does anything, which I think is really important.
Yeah, because even though it's, you know, it's a project that's looking for a certain outcome, it is still your life. Like you want those experiences and those moments to be pleasurable, and you want to feel like as involved as you can.
Yeah.
And I think it's about not losing sight of the fact that like, although we have a goal that we need to reach, like the experience is almost part of the, you know, fun of it. Like the process is the point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something like it would infuriate my dad, I think, when we were younger, and probably Owen's parents too, or whoever I was working with. It's like, are you getting paid for this? It's like, no, but like we're making something cool and we'll get there. And like, I think even Kavanagh, like it's never about making money, or like that wasn't the initial goal. It's about doing something together and having this kind of mission statement of like bringing cool people together and making cool things. And that's why it's kind of lasted and why it's growing and going from strength to strength, because we just like hanging out with each other, whether we're doing something or not. Like we're all friends, and then when we go to make something, it just makes everything better.
Yeah,
because everyone's happy to be together and everyone understands why we're there.
Yeah, and it keeps you sane a little bit, like
Yeah.
in terms of being around people who you care about, but who are also doing, you know, the same thing as you, and creative wise, it sort of validates your experience. And I think sometimes you can feel like you're off doing something so random and so weird and non-productive or something, but you know, that's not the reality. It's so important. And
Community is so important for that, because it can, even if you can go a day or two not be around someone and you're working on something, you kind of, you know, lose energy and all ideas and start questioning like everything and if you're any use and stuff. And then you get around one of those people and it just like reignites it, and they throw an idea out and then you bounce off them, and it just continues. And I think, having people around you is just so important.
Yeah, it like resets your perspective. I think you can like fall into a little bit of a black hole and be like, you just like, you know, you can spiral inwards. And like, even I'd say maybe editing, there might be an element of this. It's just like, because you're doing such technical work all the time that like you naturally have to lose sense of the bigger thing. And then when you watch the bigger thing, it's probably so hard to do that without thinking technically. But having the presence of another person is so key in those moments.
I think I love like co-directing, and think for that reason, because like having someone to turn to and just be like, is this working? What do you think? How can we make it better? I just see that as beneficial. Like I love directing by myself as well, and I think I'm definitely going to do that going forward as well. But I just love sharing it with other people, and it's like makes it better, I think.